So the blame game is what they do on television. Oh, no, Trump did it. Oh, no, the Democrats did it. So boring, so tedious, so ridiculous. But it happens every single time. And a poll out today from the Washington Post says 47% of Americans say Trump and Republicans are responsible for the government shutdown. Okay? 30% say the Democrats are responsible. Now, the Washington Post, but maybe it's true because that's what the media puts out there. And even though nobody watches the media, it all gets on the internet and people pick it up. They don't know. And I'm not being supercilious, word of the day. Okay, I'm not. They just don't know. People are busy. People have to work. They're kids. They're running around. They can't be sitting there on their butts analyzing the government shutdown. I understand that. That's why you watch me and listen to me on the radio, because I cut through all the BS and I'll tell you in less than an hour what the truth is about your world. Okay. So according to Washington Post, most people brain dump. Does it matter? No. 4 weeks from today, nobody will even remember this. Do you remember the last government shutdown? I remember it. I had to cover it, but it's kind of fuzzy. Okay, so the most honest appraisal of what happened to lead to the government shutting down this week was made by me, aren't I humble, on News Nation Cuomo last night. Roll the tape. Okay, so here's what happened. You'll remember that the last time around, Senator Schumer gave in to President Trump. At least that's how it was portrayed. And Schumer got hammered from all sides and couldn't leave the House for 3 weeks. So that was not going to happen again, Cuomo.
Not with AOC right there. Cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha.
Not going to happen. So the guy who really knew what was going to happen in advance, and you should get him on tomorrow, is Fetterman, the senator from
Pennsylvania. I'm trying to get him.
He knew.
I'm trying to get him.
Okay. So he signaled to all of us who pay attention, and that probably be about 6 or 7 individuals in the media, that this was not going to go well. And here's why it didn't. So under President Biden, about 15 million foreign nationals crossed into America, many of them, perhaps most, on asylum claims. But they didn't go through the ports of entry, and they didn't do what they were supposed to do to claim asylum. In the Democratic vision for funding health care, all of those people would get subsidies, and some of them free health care, from the American public. Schumer knew that Trump and the Republicans were never going to sign off on that, ever in a million years. Yet he brought it in anyway. So you tell me, who's playing the cards in an upright position? And that's exactly what happened. Biden is the villain here, because he changed the whole thing as far as asylum is concerned. If you, in the past, before Biden, were a foreigner in danger that you were going to be killed or imprisoned because of your belief system, you could apply to asylum. There were rules you had to do and come here. Once you got here under that asylum banner, then you were entitled to whatever the government programs are. You're entitled to go to school. You're entitled to Obamacare, whatever. When Biden allowed 15 million in unsupervised, and I don't know the exact number that applied for asylum, they haven't put it out yet, but it's probably the majority, because that was the con. All right, the cartels smuggle the people up, and they said, look, when the Border Patrol confronts you and you can surrender to them, just say you want asylum. And Biden will let you come right in. And that's what happened. Cold and flu season coming on up. We all know it. And it really is nothing to take lightly. So when people start getting sick all across the country, medications disappear. Everybody wants it at the same time. So it's very, very smart to have a pharmacy you can count on, like All Family Pharmacy. Right now, they're helping Americans get ahead of the curve with 10% off antibiotics, antivirals, other essentials. You know how important it is to have the right meds when you get sick, particularly when your kids get sick. You don't want to be going into the doctor's office, spending all the time. You want to have them at your home. So if you have a few months supply, you don't have to worry. And that's what we're doing here. If you believe in America, in medical freedom, okay, and taking care of your family, as I do, this is the pharmacy for you. Please go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Bill. Use code BILL10 to save 10%. Now, the bigger picture is the Democratic Party wants socialized medicine. They want Washington to run the whole entire healthcare system, like Canada, like Western Europe. So that's why they support free healthcare or subsidized healthcare for pretty much everybody. This is another step in that direction. So those of us who are honest and know what happened leading up to this know that there's no way the two sides could have ever agreed on the health care for migrants. Okay? It was never going to happen. And so, therefore, his fault, but it's the fault of the Democratic Party, because that party knew by insisting that all migrants be covered who claim asylum, okay, that Republicans would never do it. So they knew this was all contrived. Now, what should happen going forward is there should be a negotiation about the 15 million that Biden left in and what they are entitled to or not. And that negotiation should be done in good faith, and new legislation has to be passed. Joe Biden wrecked the entire immigration system in this country, destroyed it. It's got to be rebuilt. Even though Donald Trump succeeded in closing the border and ICE is now rooting out a lot of the people who shouldn't be here, the whole system is wrecked. You have to start again. And those talks should be ongoing. That's something for Congress to do. Okay, so I hope everybody understands what this is all about, because you will never hear that analysis anywhere else on television in this country. Maybe, and if you do, let me know. Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, because I'd like to bring the person who does it on the program. All right? So, the nuts and bolts of all this is that there's supposed to be what they call a budget deadline once each fiscal year. But that has broken down. So now it's 4 or 5 of them every few months. We got to go over the budget, the spending. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? That's got to be fixed too. It's absolute chaos. Even this bill, when they come to an agreement, they'll extend. It's temporary. You got to deal with it again another 3 months. It should be once a year to reconcile spending that Congress has approved, because things change. That's why I have it. Once a year, that's all. Not 8 times a year. Okay. Finally, the Senate is different than the House. House passed the extension, goes to the Senate. You need 60 votes, and that's because of the filibuster rule. This goes way back to 1917. Didn't used to have a filibuster rule, and it was on, and that's what led to the Civil War, is that they could never come to a vote about slavery because the South would just refuse. All right, so nothing could improve. And then in 1917, it said, okay, you need 60 votes in the Senate to pass most legislation. Not all, but you'd have to read the Senate rules. They're crazy, arcane. So it's a different situation, and Trump can't get 60 votes. So he's got 55. Rand Paul, I got a letter about Rand Paul. He doesn't want any spending. That's why he votes again. He's not voting for the Democrats. He goes, oh, they're both rotten. I'm not voting for any spending. So he's a Republican senator. So anyway, you're not going to get 60 votes. But what you will get is the government has to reopen. It will. And then we'll go on to the next round, and it's got to stop. You have to reorganize this. And that's the memo.